Welcome everyone to another Inside the Birds TV with Adam Caplan and Geoff Mosher, and he's so great every time we have him on. We just had to have him on again, especially since he just did the Eagles-Giants game, which we're going to talk about a lot. We are proud and very happy to welcome back Mark Schlereth, our man Stink. What's up?
How you guys doing, man? It's always good to be on with you guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, we're really happy to have you on. This is the second time this year, third time overall, and it's good because you've gotten a pretty good look at the Eagles, and you and Adam Amin did the broadcast for the Giants game. Now, before we even talk Eagles or just anything, I mean, as far as games, you guys do a game every week. That had to have been one of the kind of unsightlier games that you've done all year. I would hope, for your sake.
Yeah, I think obviously the Giants are struggling, and I was really excited because the game we did the week before, the Eagles in New Orleans, you really felt like, or at least I felt like, the Eagles had a chance to win this division. I felt like they had a chance to win out and play Dallas the very last game of the season for the potential of winning the division, because the Dallas, as I like to say, the Cowboys going to cowboy, right? At some point, they're gonna roll over and they're gonna read their own press clippings and think they're America's team, and they're gonna crap in their hats. So that's kind of what I was looking forward to. And to lay the egg that the Eagles did in New York was disappointing. And it's always interesting because I really like Nick Sirianni. I like that coaching staff quite a bit. I like Jonathan Graham, Jonathan Gannon. I really like what they're doing. I like the energy that they have. I just like the process that they're going through right now. And I felt like, as I was broadcasting that game, I felt like there was this kind of unwritten statement, if you will, that Nick Sirianni looked at the Giants and said, the Giants are really struggling. We need to develop our quarterback from a passing standpoint. So let's give him some opportunities. Let's continue to try to grow him up in that. And it's not where he's been very good. And you guys knew that watching the first 7 games of the season, when they went from 63% pass to the last 5 games, 63% run. And I really felt like that's what they needed to stick with. And I felt like there was this kind of, like I said, this thought process that the Giants aren't very good, so let's really get our quarterback a little bit more experience throwing the ball, and let's give him this opportunity to do that, and we'll still be able to win this game. And obviously it backfired with him making some awful throws and an awful decision right before halftime, to throw that football. Lord, I don't know what he was thinking, and cost yourself an opportunity to tie that game up with 3-3. So, like, those things were a little head scratching for me as I was calling the game.
Mark, you've had the opportunity to call a bunch of their games, and you've also seen a lot of the league this year. So if you could stack up kind of where you see the Eagles' offensive line right now based on what you've seen in the league so far.
Oh, I think they're the best. I think they're the best out there. And remember now, they're starting 2 guys that weren't starting at the beginning of the season, and Jack Driscoll and Landon Dickerson. And they are outstanding. I think the thing, when you put them on film, Adam, I think the thing that struck me is, at the point of attack, they're as physical as any team in the National Football League. I mean, they can come off the ball in their double teams. They can just absolutely shorten your neck, sink their hips and drive you off the football. And then they're athletic enough to get up on linebackers and get up on safeties and block you athletically. And so they have this ability to be a power gap scheme kind of team. They have the ability to be a pin and pull, attack the edge team with their offensive line being out there, and Jason Kelsey being the best in the business out in space. And then the zone read system that they run with their quarterback, like their ability to be variable, their ability to do multiple things and do them all exceptionally well. I don't know that there's anybody in the league that can do that. And a lot of that is because Mailata is an absolute freak show at 6'8" and 375, 380. And Lane Johnson is one of the, pound for pound, he's as good an athlete as there is in the National Football League, pound for pound. I mean, the guy's an absolute freak show. So, and then Dickerson is a big, strong, and I think he's more athletic than you think. When you look at him, because he's so big, and same with Driscoll. So I think they're like, they have this unbelievable versatility where any scheme, they can run any scheme. Like I said, they can be a gap football team, where they're just getting double teams at the point of attack and just driving you off the ball, or they can be a pin and pull. I mean, there's nothing. They can be a zone team. There's nothing that they can't run, because they've got this unbelievable. It's the juxtaposition between just beef and strength, and then being light-footed. It's fun to watch. I think they're the best. They're the best. I haven't called everybody, but they're the best I've seen, without question.
Well, you've done the Eagles games a couple of weeks in a row now, right? So I imagine in production meetings, you've had an opportunity to talk with Jalen Hurts a little bit, one-on-one, or
Sure.
with your crew. When you talk to him about the offense and the run element of it, especially over the last five weeks or so, what kind of reaction have you gotten from him in those conversations about the state of the offense?
Jalen is a coach's son, and he has been well trained by Nick Saban. Jalen does not tell you much about anything. I've really enjoyed him because he's professional. I mean, and he just wants to talk football, and but he doesn't want to tell you like kind of anything. So he's very vague. He's very vague about when you ask him about like RPO stuff and what he's reading. He's very careful. I'll tell you a funny story. I had you guys week 2, and it was against the 49ers. Now, this is Jalen, like, awareness. So I asked him to explain to me how the RPO game works and how the zone read run game works and what he's reading and what he's looking at. And he just looked at me and just was dead silent. And so then I thought, well, maybe I didn't ask it right. Maybe he didn't understand the question. So I changed up the verbiage, and I went back to him and asked him again, and he just looked at me, and then he said, "You guys are cousins." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "You're cousins." And I go, what are you talking about?" He goes, "You and the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, you're cousins." I go, "We're not cousins." I go, "I played for his father." I've known him since he was 15, but he's like, "I'm not going to tell you." I'm not going to tell you. So
that's funny.
But I loved it. Like I loved it because he did his research on me before he walked into a production meeting to talk to me, and I appreciate that about him. He's very conscientious about work ethic, about leadership, just about about growth, and about relationship, and like the tangible stuff has to get better, right? He's got to be better at reading out progressions. He's got to be better at doing all the things a quarterback has to do, and he's still very young. But the intangible stuff, the stuff that I think is almost more important to winning, that connectivity, that leading your football team, that believability, that relational aspect of who he is. I think he's tremendous in that, and he'll continue to grow. And I think part of the Giants game last week was them trying to grow him up in the passing game, and unfortunately it backfired. But push comes to shove, they put a couple of drives together. At the end, he threw 2 touchdown passes, and they were balls on. They were great. So, your first round draft choice you got feet for hands. You got to learn to catch. But, and that's disappointing because I know he's trying. I know he's working hard. I think Monte Rager is Jalen's father, isn't he?
Yep.
Monte and I were teammates. So we played together in Denver for years.
He also played for the Eagles. Monte did for 1 year.
Did he? Okay. And then he went to, I think after Denver, he went to Indianapolis.
Correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just is like, for me, I joke around, but I want to see young kids. I know what it's like to be a father and have a kid that plays professional sports, and and when they do well, you want to call everybody and share it with them. And when they play like garbage or they don't do their job, you just want to go hug on them and buy them a pizza. So it's a tough deal, no question about it. I'm sure he's taking. I'm sure the Philly fans. My knowledge of Philly fans, I'm sure they're very they're bringing them along. They're very nurturing and they're very caring about. Yeah, it's like the
Dead on
clip
as
of
always, Mark.
yes, yeah, it's like the clip of the guy. Isn't it the guy that caught the baby and said,
Yeah.
"Lucky it wasn't, lucky it wasn't Aguilar." Yeah,
Man, you really know Philly, man.
Yeah, you gotta love Philly fans. I love Philly, man. I went to when my son was pitching for the Arizona Diamondbacks as a rookie. I got done doing NFL Live. I was working at ESPN at the time, and I jumped in the car with a couple of the PAs, a couple of the kids that wanted to be on a road trip. Like I took them because I couldn't sleep. Like I have got to have somebody keep me awake, right?
Yeah.
So it was a couple of the PA kids, and we jumped in the car and drove to Philly right after. We had an early show. It got done at I don't know 3:30. We jump in the car and we're racing to Philly, and we get there at the we get there like in the eighth or ninth inning, and it was hilarious because I walk into the stadium, and my son's in the bullpen warming up, and I don't think he didn't get in, but I walk in there to say hi, and like they turn the Philly fans are like literally on him, dog cussing him because he thinks it's funny, and then he's egging them on, and then I walk up and they're like, "Hey, you're a bum too," it was awesome, man. I love the Philly. And the thing, you know what though, and I've told you guys this, better than New York fans. New York fans are thin-skinned. New York, like if I flip New York fans grief, they get. I mean, they're a thin-skinned bunch. Philly fans, they just throw right back at you, and like if you dog cuss their team and they deserve to be dog cussed, they're like, hell yeah, I'm right along with you, right? So I actually appreciate Philly fans.
Let me ask this, Mark. Because you and Merrill Hodge, I remember when we were at ESPN together, you guys were very hard on Chip Kelly. Did you get a lot of heat from Philly fans with your, based on what you saw from Chip's offense? I know you guys are very critical. Did you get a lot of heat from the fans here?
Initially, until everything we said, actually panned out. There's always going to be some newness, and there's always kind of a learning curve, for a new system comes out. I remember when everybody ran Wildcat, nobody could figure it out, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared. It became extinct. The defensive coaches are going to figure things out. You're always constantly kind of morphing, and so I just knew that wasn't like I knew that having leading the league in 3-and-outs and asking your defense, which is much harder, and you don't have 80 guys, like you do on a college roster or 70 guys, 100 guys dressed or whatever it is. I knew the battle of attrition would just be miserable on that defensive side of the ball, and that would eventually cost them games. You just can't play. I did a breakdown in a 4-game stretch, and in a 4-game, the defensive players for Philadelphia played 5 full games. So at the end of the season, in a 16-game schedule, you're playing 20 games. You can't survive that. You just can't. And so possessions are important, and the other thing is you don't have the wide hashes, so it changes kind of that collegiate style of offense. Look at what's going on in Arizona right now, and you guys will appreciate it. You think of the air raid system in Arizona, and you think of Cliff Kingsbury, and when he first came in, what do they win? 5 games and then 8 the next year. When you watch them on film, I have them this week. It's a pro style type of offense with a quarterback who could still operate. You'd be surprised, but I think Kyler Murray has about 147 yards rushing total. And they run personnel groupings. They run multiple tight end sets, multiple back sets. They are not when I went to study them and really watch them, what I thought they were because of what I had seen, in 2019 and doing a game, and what they are, completely different. So tip of the cap to Cliff Kingsbury, because he's taken that air raid and that passing system, and he said, I can't win doing this in the NFL. So he's morphed into more of a traditional NFL style of offense. And, they've got the best record in football right now, and they've been playing with a backup quarterback for the last 3 games.
It is funny because I think a lot of people felt when they hired him, you heard the whole, this is going to be another Chip Kelly in the NFL, a guy who thinks he's going to, take his brand to the NFL and establish it all over. But obviously he adapted a lot quicker than a lot of people gave him credit for doing or expected him to do.
Right. Well, remember, though, you have to also look at him. He came in, he got drafted by the Patriots, played for the Patriots, really coached for the Patriots, and was one of those, in the Bill Belichick system where they dump you over. If you're an offensive guy, they dump you on defense, and they make you learn. They kind of make you learn the whole system. And so he's got a lot of roots in the NFL. And, I just think that he came in and kind of really – was great at the self-evaluation and said, you can't, it's the field is different, or the hashes are different. It's a different game. You don't have, the battle of attrition. You don't have the numbers. You can't do that. You can't do that. You won't play complimentary football, and you'll end up hurting your football team.
It's interesting. You wear a lot of hats, right? You do sports talk radio in Denver for 104.3, correct? Morning show, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you take calls, like you hear, I'm sure a variety of different fans and opinions on how things should be done. That's what sports talk's all about. But yet you also played the game, so you have an advanced knowledge. And if you were to do sports talk radio here in Philly, you'd probably be surprised by some of the contrasting voices. There are people who think the Eagles didn't run the ball enough against the Giants. They ran the ball, 33 times for 206 yards. But they saw what happened over the prior 4 weeks and think we could have won if we ran the ball more. And Adam and I talk about this concept where, maybe it's possible. Maybe you could have ran the ball more and would have won. And maybe that would help you make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, you were talking about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and Howie Roseman, of course, the GM, having to get an evaluation of their quarterback's ability to throw, because you have to eventually throw and win in the NFL. So I guess what I would ask you is, which side would you feel like you're on? Do you think it's run until someone says you can't stop it? Or do you have to eventually open this thing up with only a few games left as you're judging your quarterback this year and see if the passing game doesn't get better, which might cost you a playoff spot?
Right. Yeah. I understand. I just think that winning and learning how to play is the number one thing. Winning for an organization, like, I don't buy into hey, we've got to develop for the future, and we've got to winning is the most important part of developing for the future. And so, you say the 33 runs, but to me, it was what you did in the passing game. Yeah, you came back to the run, and you were gashing them in that. But it was more about what you did in the drop back game and what you did, instead of really meshing or tying together. I call them two different things. There's play action, and play action to me is really you flag the ball out and you take 7-step drops and you keep 6 and 7 men in protection. That's play action, right? That's the play action passing game, and everybody runs it. And, you've got to be able to turn your back to the football field, then turn your back around, take a deep drop, roll through your progressions, and deliver a ball down the football field. Then there's the run action. And the run action comes right off your run game. And that's a lot of boot keep stuff. That's a lot of move in the pocket. That's that stuff. And
that's
to me, right. And that to me is where they need to hang their hat. And just marry that run to that run concept passing game. And, you still develop, right? Because you're still running layered routes and you're still running, you're still running strong side passing triangles, right? So you're still running, a flat with a corner and then a, drag from the other side, right? So you've got a 1, 2, 3. It makes a triangle, right? That's a flood concept that's a triangle. And you're just reading through. You're going from flat to let's call it flat to curl to, instead of flag, let's go flat to curl to drag, or over the top, shallow cross. And like that comes off to me the run action game. And I just thought they could have that. That's where they still need to live as they develop him as a passer. And the other stuff is going to come with experience. And I mean, he throws a really nice ball, and it just takes time, and that's all. It's just going to take time. And so I still think that fighting for a playoff spot and fighting for that division, based upon, I mean, you look, they had 2 games against the Giants left. They had a game against the Jets. They had one game against Washington, right? And the final game against Dallas. I mean, like I said, the way Dallas is folding their tents, and when they play the Saints this weekend, it looks like Taysom Hill will be back. I think they'll get Kamara back, hopefully. I mean, that's going to be a different football team. The Saints got legit. I mean, they're legit on defense, and I was shocked. I really was shocked watching them absolutely destroy people in the running game. David Onyemata he is a freak show. Davenport's probably playing better than any end in football when it comes to the complete package, not only rushing the passer, but playing the run. Cam Jordan is great. Quan Alexander is a freak show athlete that makes explosive plays. Demario Davis is unbelievable. And I thought, wow, what a battle that's going to be. And Philadelphia just handled they handed them their lunch. That's the best run defense. And I'm telling you, of every run defense I've watched, any team, from a discipline, from a gap discipline standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, like up and down line of scrimmage, they were dominant against everybody. And Philly treated them like they were the JV scrimmage squad. I mean, it's one of the most impressive things I've watched. And so, anyhow, I really thought that Philly had a chance to, and maybe they still do. Maybe they can go, maybe they can go on a run. I don't think Philly's ever lost to the Jets. I think I was reading something today. They've never lost to, which, I guess that probably shouldn't surprise anybody because they're the Jets. Right? I mean, think about the dreck that New York has to put up with in the football community right now. Yeah. But I got New York next week against the Chargers. So let me take that back. You know what? They're really playing a lot better football right now.
We'll edit that out. Mark, you mentioned Jonathan Gannon, who it kind of come under fire here mid-season. They were really struggling on that side of the football. Giving up too much production, and now lately they've been playing better. What are your thoughts on Gannon's defense from your tape study?
It's been a huch difference ever since they moved T.J. Edwards in as a starting linebacker, tying them together. Great spatial awareness. I talked to him. He was a quarterback in high school. He just has a good sense of where he is on the field in the passing game. Playing downhill, playing very physical in the run game. I think several things have happened. Gannon has a real belief in rotating guys and keeping guys fresh. And I think he realized that that's a very fine art to rotating guys and then playing with guys that aren't as good for too many snaps. Mm-hmm. So there's an art form, especially in their front seven. So they're not nearly as at the beginning of the year in week 2, they're not rotating through guys like they were earlier. And so I thought that was big. I think obviously too many missed tackles, almost too many trying to make big hits, both from, the linebacker position and in the safeties and the corner position. I think they've been much better the last couple of weeks securing tackles. They call them hamstring tackles, and then mixing in some pressures. Jonathan has not been a real big pressure guy. He has been more of a keep it simple, play, very limited coverages, just make sure we're in the right spots. And basically kind of almost a bend, don't break philosophy, to where I think he's done a better job here in recent weeks of taking a few gambles, calculated gambles. And so, I just really like him. Like talking football with him, he definitely has a plan. I know that a lot of people didn't think he was aggressive enough. But then you look at some of the things where he was aggressive and they got gashed either on a missed tackle or some guys not in the right space on a blitz, and you're giving up an explosive, and so that makes it a little bit harder to call. But I think again, like Nick Sirianni, I think an indicator of a good coaching staff are people that are willing to morph and willing to change and willing to say, what do my players do best? And how do I get them in the best position for us to be successful? And it's one of the things I've loved about, this staff and talking to this staff and getting to kind of hang out with them a little bit and watch them in practice. I really feel strongly about this being a very good staff, and it takes humility to be able to say, hey, what I wanted to do is not working. What I wanted to do is not how we're going to win. So let me just swallow my pride a little bit, and let me not get away from my core fundamentals or my core beliefs, but let me adjust what I'm doing. And I think this staff has done that. And I think that's why you've seen them have the success they've had the last 5 weeks. Last week notwithstanding, last week was a bit of an anomaly to me, but that's because you got yourself in trouble turning the football over.
No doubt about that. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet $1 on any NFL team to score, and you can win $100 in free bets if the team scores, you score, using promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Real quick, Stink, have you had a chance yet to talk to Darius Slay?
Oh yeah, I talked to him a couple of years ago. I talked to him a little bit on the field, just kind of gave him dap and said what's up. But no, I have not. So when I request players, I like corners play in the water, receivers play in the water. I really don't care about them. They play a different game out there. And most of those guys know they're really good about knowing what they do. They don't really know a lot what's going on usually. Now, obviously, there's always going to be a guy or two that are outliers, right? But those guys will talk about themselves ad nauseum. But I like to talk to safeties and middle linebackers that are the play callers, because those are the guys, especially the linebackers, they tie the front and the back end together, and they usually have a really good idea of what the game plan is, what the offense does. Oftentimes, Darius Slay, will know the guy he's covering inside and out, and beyond that, and defensive linemen usually they don't even know the offensive line's name. They don't. Those guys, they just know the number. Oh yeah, 73. Yeah, that's what they know. So I tend to talk to the guys who really are more meticulous when it comes to game planning. That's kind of where I kind of hang my hat.
Sure. So I'm sure you've spoken with Jason Kelsey then more recently in these meetings then.
I did Jason Kelsey last week. Yes.
Yeah. Amazing at his age how he's playing.
I bypassed Hurts this week. I said take the week off. And I talked to you the week before, and I went with Kelsey this week. And he's a guy that every coaching staff that I've ever talked to just raves about his ability to call an offense, his ability to tell the quarterback kind of what's coming and where we should go, and just his knowledge of the game. And so he's fun for me, and I just love watching the guy play. So he's a guy that I really have enjoyed.
Mark, from a big picture standpoint around the league, the trend now, or just in terms of winning and losing, is these road teams are doing so much better than home teams this year. Again, now last year we didn't have fans in most of the stadiums, but this year fans are back. Could you, as you travel, could you put your finger on why home teams are not doing as well as they really should?
Yeah, it's an interesting trend, and I really can't. I don't know exactly why that is. Um, Although I have not seen, now that you mention it, I have not seen a lot of teams really struggle with crowd noise.
Hmm.
Um, I have not seen a lot of just a lot of false start penalties and a lot of illegal shift or illegal movement penalties based on crowd noise. I haven't seen a lot of people just have to go to straight silent count on everything, and that is something. Yeah, it's something I really haven't even thought about, and it's probably and I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's not as much crowd noise. I really can't put a finger on that. Maybe it's just the way the schedule's worked out with better teams traveling. I know it's not true for Tampa. I know they're undefeated at home and they've lost a bunch on the road. Um, but I just maybe it's just an anomaly of the way the schedule worked out this year. Um, but I have noticed there doesn't seem to be as much like timeouts and hesitations and like I said, you know, uh, the cadence issues and silent cadence and stuff. I just haven't recognized as much of it. So um, I haven't had a game where there was a bunch of those procedure penalties and a bunch of those timeouts due to crowd noise. So maybe that's it.
All right, before we get you out of here, because I don't know when the next time we might have you on. It could be a couple weeks, could be who knows. So why don't you give us who you think is the Super Bowl contestants right now? Who are you liking?
Well, it's always hard to go against Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Um, he's playing amazing football, and I think their roster, for as much as he didn't like the whole, I don't like the general manager, and the general manager said he was going to bring me in on things, and he didn't, and so. I don't know if you guys, the irony is not lost on me that he's pissed at the Packers for lying. Yeah. I
No,
wonder who
no.
that sounds like, right? So yeah, what you're pissed at them for is exactly what you did in addressing the media about
Mhm.
being immunized. Huh.
Funny how that
Interesting.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karma's a bitch. So anyhow, but he's playing great football, and yeah, well, Aaron's a friend of mine, or at least he used to be. But yeah, here's my thought process on that. If you're mad at me for telling you the truth, then I'm a better friend to you than you are to me. So if you're mad at me, Aaron, look in the mirror. But I think the Packers. I think defensively they're a lot better. I think they can run the ball against anybody. I love the scheme, and then when push comes to shove, and I think they've schemed up wide open guys. They've done a really good job on that. And Aaron has told me I did a game of his last year that McCarthy was all just about matchups, and LaFleur is more about, hey, we're going to scheme this up to get this dude open. We're going to scheme this up. And so first and second down is more scheme stuff. Third down is where's Devontae Adams? And I don't care if he's double teamed. We've got such connection. And Devontae is one of the smartest football players you ever be around. He's one of those. He's one of those guys that doesn't fit the role of your prototypical just throw me the ball dude.
Mhm.
Like he read coverages. He's on the same page as Aaron Rodgers. He's just a really smart football player. So when push comes to shove, those guys on third down or those guys in critical situations, they just eviscerate you. So
Mhm.
I think they're really good. I really like what Arizona's doing right now. It'll be interesting to see when they get their quarterback back. I've got them this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised to see them sit him again against Chicago, who's really struggling, and saying we're going to let Colt McCoy play one more game and make sure that ankle is completely healed for the stretch run, because they got some games coming up against the Rams, and they got a couple of tough games coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. But Arizona and Green Bay, probably obviously two best records, but probably the two best teams. The AFC is just the Kansas City is going to win the AFC. Hey, they're 7-4 right now. I will not be surprised if they end up 13-4. That won't shock. That won't shock me at all. They're going to go on a run. They've fixed their defense. And Melvin Ingram has come in there and been a contributor. They've done a really good job. Chris Jones has moved more back into a 3 technique. Like, because of that move of Ingram, now they've been able to play a little bit more 4-2 nickel. And Chris Jones, you know, as good a player as he is on the inside, he doesn't threaten you on the outside from an ability to turn a corner. So from an offensive tackle standpoint, you've eliminated one thing that you don't have to worry about, that you don't have to set for. So outside, even though he's still a really good player, don't get me wrong, he's very blockable. He's not one guy that you go, oh my God, outside, we got to turn to him. We got to, you know, inside, he's a freaking war daddy. Outside, he's a guy that plays the end. And so their ability to get back into a 4-2 scheme and move him back inside, he's wreaking havoc right now. They're just playing a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Kansas City, you know, is trending in that direction. They've got so much talent, and like I said, I don't doubt that they'll be 13-4 when the season ends. Beyond that, in the AFC, I'm trying to think. Tennessee. You know, I had a coach unsolicited, and I talked to. There's a lot of coaches I talk to, but I had a coach, and not all the ones that I just talked to during Friday production meetings and Saturday production meetings. Guys that I lean on, guys that I text with, guys that I talk to, guys that I ask questions about, like what are you guys trying to exploit in this and that and the other. And I had a guy just unsolicited saying Tennessee isn't tough. Tennessee's not intimidating. Tennessee's not an ass-kicking machine. Their running back was tough. Their running back was intimidating. Their running back was a bully. The rest of the team ain't a bully. And I was like, wow. I mean, and so I don't think people fear Tennessee like they used to fear Tennessee. And you know, and I mean, when you go into Houston and lose a game to the Texans, I mean, so you know, other than Kansas City, I'm trying to think. Baltimore is, with all the injuries they've had at the running back position, and Lamar hasn't bounced back from when he had COVID during training camp. And I talked to John Harbaugh about it, and he said, you know, he's still not as strong. He still hasn't gained all his weight back. It just it's affected him. And he's looked bad. He threw 4 picks the other weekend. Cincinnati intrigues me. Cincinnati has gotten a lot better. Their offensive line is a lot better. They dominate the run game. Burrow's got some swag and some substance about him, and obviously what's the kid's name? Jamar Chase is a freak show.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, they've done a really nice job in Cincinnati. Gosh, yeah, I mean.
How about New England's 8-4? Are they not?
New England. New England.
Yeah.
I had New
What a
England
story
early.
that would be, huh?
Right, exactly. Oh, was it Belichick or Brady? Was it Belichick or Brady? Oh, it's Brady. Wait a minute. Yeah, Mac Jones has played exceptionally well. There's the kid's got an insatiable appetite for information. There's nothing they can't put on his plate that he can absorb and take to the field on Sundays. They say by the time Friday afternoon rolls around, there's nothing they can throw at him in Friday practice that he can't adjust to and know exactly what to do. Just his work ethic, first in the building, last out. But you know, studying it, you can be that guy and not study. You know, like I always say, just because you play a pro sport doesn't make you a professional. He's the consummate professional, and like the guy, like I said, insatiable desire for knowledge. And even Bill Belichick told me in week 3 when I did their games, when I did one of their games, he's like, listen, man, he goes, there's nothing that this cat can't do at the line of scrimmage. From an autonomy standpoint, He can get us out of any play. I give him complete and total autonomy. Get us out of the play if it's not good. Readjust the protection if you don't like it. Like he's in charge. And defensively, the way they have played, they're just such a smart football team, such an unbelievably well-coached football team. And Bill Belichick's philosophy, if you sit down and talk football with him, it really is apparent. It's we're going to allow you to lose the game. It's not so much about us winning it. We're just not going to lose it, and we're going to let you lose it. And it's amazing because they're just like, there are going to be mistakes, but we're going to make far less than you. And if we always talk about the turnover game. With them, it's more about the mistake game. It's like we execute, we don't make mistakes, we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We're okay with punting the football. We're okay with playing the field position game. That's what we do. And it's pretty amazing because most teams aren't that smart, but most teams, more importantly, aren't that patient. And they are patient. They know they're playing 60 minutes. It's the coach. It's the coach that can't wait to have 2 failed runs so he can start throwing it on every possession. Every down. And I'm like, with those coaches, I'm like, hey, dumbass. Like that's anyhow. But New England is really playing good football right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like you like Kansas City and either Green Bay or Kansas City, Arizona.
Yeah,
right
that's kind of where I would lean to. Yeah.
Cool.
And listen, Tampa's still really good. Tampa's still really you got to understand they've lost a couple D linemen. Vita Vea missed a little bit of time, but their whole defensive secondary, I think I did a game, one of their games like week 7 or 8.
They're down 3 corners, right? Yeah.
Right. They had 8. They had started. It was week 8, and they had started 8 different corners. 8 different corner combinations. I mean, so they're very multiple, as you know, and they play. They'll play a lot of man early and bring pressure early and get you behind the chains and get you, in second down and long. And then they'll just make you throw it short. And they're so good. They'll play zone. They'll play the sticks, and they'll make you throw it underneath. And their linebackers have rockets strapped up their asses. They will just fly and make tackles and make you punt. They're so damn good. So
they are.
They're still a really good football team, and the world's great. You can never count out the world's greatest American.
No.
Tom Brady.
No, you cannot. Absolutely can't count him out. We can't count you out, man. You've been awesome, Mark. Thanks so much for all your knowledge. Really appreciate it. I know our listeners love when you come on, and especially you've been doing Eagles games a lot and giving some great insight. So let's not be strangers. Let's try to do it again as soon as we can, okay?
Well, you guys know how to get a hold of me.
And
and I'm not famous enough to change my number.
I noticed.
Some of my celebrity friends change their numbers all the time. I'm just not that famous, so
you don't destroy the cell phone every 5 months.
No, my number hasn't changed in probably 15 years. So you know where to find me.
Sounds great. Where can we find some of your stuff? I mean, we know all about your media, but stinkinggood.com, is that the
stinkinggood.com? Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going on. We've got a loyalty program. You order, we ship. Great stuff. Pork green chili. We got a pork green chili, chicken green chili, vegetarian green chili. We got a queso dip out. A lot of cool things happening, and great swag like this Stinking Good sweatshirt, this hoodie. We
gotta get one of those
hats, and we got all kinds of stuff. So great stuff. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Mark. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds
all right,
good.
For Adam Caplan and Mark Schlereth, you've been watching Inside the Birds TV. I'm Geoff Mosher. Thanks to our friends at Sky Motor Cars. Go check them out in Westchester, PA. Tell them Adam and Geoff sent you, or go to their website, skymotorcars.com. Have a great one. We'll see you all on the next edition of Inside the Birds TV.